Hi, I'm Dr. Morgan. So recently there was this large survey of over 12,000 people, and these were people diagnosed with hypothyroidism and treated. And they asked them how satisfied they were with their treatment, and the average was 5 out of 10. So a lot of people are not very satisfied, and I'm assuming that's you, and maybe you're frustrated. I'm going to give you 4 reasons for your frustration later on. But let's start where everyone starts, with a Google search. So I searched hypothyroid treatment, and Google's going to come back with the #1 article is always going to be from who has the most expertise, the most authoritative on the subject, and the most trustworthy. So it's always going to be large medical universities or institutions. This one happens to be one of the largest in the world. And this article just basically, we could look at it as the standard of care in medicine. So they talk about first thyroid symptoms, and it would, as you know, tiredness, weight gain, dry skin, constipation, depression, and they talk about testing thyroid stimulating hormone and T4. And so if your TSH is high and your T4 is low, you're then diagnosed with primary hypothyroidism. They're going to treat it with levothyroxine, so that's T4. So in other words, you find something too low, you give the T4, and then the TSH comes back to normal. They talk about how it may take some time to get the right dose, and they do go into if you're overdosed, you could have some anxiety, palpitations, insomnia. And then they go on and talk more about what to expect on your visit, questions you may want to ask, things like that. But this one statement kind of sums it all up, talking about T4. This oral medication restores adequate hormone levels, reversing the signs and symptoms of hypothyroidism. So you take some T4 once the dose is right, and the constipation goes away, you have plenty of energy, you lose weight. And I'm assuming if you're watching this, that's not been the case for you. And it's not the case for a lot of people because there's a whole lot more to the story. So let's get straight into it. This is how the whole system of the thyroid works. Our hypothalamus senses what's going on in our body and tells the pituitary. Okay, so if it senses there's not enough T4, pituitary is going to stimulate the thyroid with thyroid stimulating hormone, try and make it work, produce T4. So if they measure this and it's high, like it's trying to get the thyroid to produce more, but the T4 is low, it's not producing enough, then that's when they're going to give T4. So then you have enough, and your body senses you have enough, so your TSH comes down, and everything on the lab looks normal, but you might not feel very good. And there's first off, why could you not be making enough T4? Well, you have to have certain substances to be able to produce it. Your thyroid has to have tyrosine, iodine, copper, iron, magnesium, selenium, zinc, B2, B3, B6. So it puts all those together, and that's how you make your thyroid hormones. Well, let's say you're deficient in one of them. Let's say you don't have enough zinc, and maybe you're eating enough zinc. Maybe you're even taking a zinc supplement, but your blood sugar's out of balance, and so you're constantly burning through the zinc like crazy. You're never going to be able to produce this enough without addressing that other problem. And so that's our first thing to look at. The reason why this doesn't work for a lot of people is sometimes you just don't have the necessary things to make this thyroid hormone. All right. Number 2, and I can't believe they don't even talk about it over here, is 90% of hypothyroidism problems in the United States are caused by Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is an autoimmune condition. And so it's your thyroid being destroyed, and that's why it can't produce the T4. And the fact that they don't even mention it, there's lots of things that can affect your immune system. If you haven't tried going off gluten, that's like a low-hanging fruit to try. Getting completely off of it, sometimes it'll affect how all that works. Number 3, So let's say you're taking the T4 now and your numbers look good, but you still have all the symptoms. Well, your T4 is considered inactive and you have to activate it to turn it into T3. You can do it with zinc and selenium, but really most of what's happening is happening down here in the liver. 60% of your thyroid hormone is turned from T4 to T3 in the liver. Another percentage in the GI tract, the kidneys, peripheral tissue. So if you have some problem with the liver, maybe you have problems detoxifying estrogen, maybe you have problems with a medication, and it's affecting your liver's function, well, that's going to impair your ability to convert T4 to its active T3. And even though your lab normals look good. All right, and then our fourth one is what's called cellular hypothyroidism. So even if you make it all the way down here, you have to have enough vitamin A and D to get into the cell, but there also can be no danger. When your cell senses danger, it tightens the membrane and it doesn't let things through. And so what could cause the danger? Well, anything. Inflammation, stress, infection, blood sugar issues, training too hard. So there's all these things that will affect it, and it doesn't matter how good everything else is in your body. You're going to slow your metabolism down. So infection, for example, let's say you have a virus or a bacteria in your cell, and you can have these things without being in the hospital or being in bed sick. They're there, and what your cell's going to do is it's going to close off because it doesn't want to give them any energy, right? Let's not forget, this is to increase metabolism. That's what your thyroid hormones do. Well, if you have a virus or a bacteria in the cell, are you going to give it more energy? No, you're going to close it off and not let it have it. So, applied kinesiology. It's funny, we get all the way down here to the cell, and then we start getting this whole person viewpoint, right? This isn't really a thyroid problem lots of times. It's an inflammation problem coming from different things in the body, or stress, different ways your body can be stressed. And so now we've got to treat the whole person to be able to get your thyroid back into normal. And that's where applied kinesiology is so good, because we treat the body structurally, chemically, emotionally, and we look at how systems affect other systems. So I hope that gives you a better view of how things really work in your body. And I want you to know that there is hope. You just have to do everything right.